Afternoon, then year 5, and welcome to today's English lesson. So here is today's hello, which will be on your Google document already, and today's date as well, which will be on there too. So what we're going to do first of all, I'm just going to run through the previous chapter again, so you've got that, because you're going to need to refer back to that chapter when you do your work. So I'll just quickly go through that now, so you can pause it at any point to view these pages. Very short chapter anyway, so yeah, and there we go. So what we're going to do today, our task is I want us to focus on the two perils. So I've called them the two perils, and that's what they refer to in the book. Okay, so you've got the whirlpool and the dragon and the names for both of them. Okay, so we're going to really focus on them. And I want you to close your eyes and just imagine them in your head. Okay, so obviously we've got a whirlpool, very destructive, as the dragons, very destructive kind of perils, if you like. And then what I want you to do as you're thinking about these, maybe looking at the images that are in the book before, okay, I want you to think if you can describe them to me. Okay, so what I want you to do, first of all, is collect as many powerful adjectives as you can, okay, to describe both these perils. Okay, so you can get loads and loads and loads of adjectives and collect them up. Okay, use any word banks that were made previously. Use thesauruses to help you, definitely. Okay, so if there's any words that are in the book that you like, maybe, or maybe you're not even you're unsure of it, research that word, use a thesaurus, see if there are more words like it. Okay, collect loads of powerful adjectives for me to describe them, the whirlpool and the dragon. And then once you've collected these words, I want you to use these adjectives to write a few sentences describing both of these perils. So you write a few sentences describing the whirlpool and a few sentences describing the dragon. Okay, and using these powerful adjectives to really describe it as well as you can. Okay, make it really sound powerful and deadly and destructive. Okay, imagine that you're describing them to someone who has never even seen them before. So obviously we all know what they kind of look like. We've seen images of them in the book, we've heard about them from the reading. I want you to try and describe, imagine you're telling your parents, okay, they've never read the book, they don't know what they are. Describe them to them, make it sound really, really scary. Try and frighten them, make them sound destructive, deadly. Okay, loads of really good, powerful adjectives in there for me. Okay, so you should have paused the video, given that a go, and then once you've completed that, I'd like you to draw them for me. Okay, so just underneath, draw out your images of your whirlpool and your six-headed dragon. Now, I know on a Google document that might be difficult to do, so you might have to do it in your book. And then draw in there, take pictures of them, upload them with your work. Okay, you can do that. I don't mind how you do it. Okay, or you might even be able to edit the document and do some drawing on there. Have a little play around, have a go at doing that for me. And then as you're doing that, I'm going to read through the next chapter of the book, so chapter 8. Feel free to just listen to me as you're doing your drawing, or if you want to read along with me, then please do that. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I don't mind what you do. Okay, but I'm going to read this to you now, okay, because we need to get on with the next chapter. Okay, so here's the image that happens before every chapter. Okay, so just looking at this picture, have a little think what you think is happening in this photo. Okay, and how do you think these men are feeling? Clearly look a little bit sad. Why do you think they are looking so sad and miserable? Have a little think about that, and then we'll read on with the chapter. So chapter 8, shipwreck. Once we had escaped the dragon and the whirlpool, we could do nothing. We sat at our benches and wept. The ship drifted where it would. Then one of my men sighted land. I saw cattle grazing, no sign of human life. I saw the sun staring down, and I remembered the terrible prophecy of Tiresias. I told them we would voyage on. At this something snapped inside them. One of them, Eurylochus was his name, spat and stood. Odysseus, he said, I'm beginning to suspect you are not a man at all. I think you are one of the gods in disguise. For like the gods, you have no pity. We want to mourn the death of our friends. We want to recover from this awful ordeal, but you insist that we sail on blindly into the night across a foreign sea when a friendly coast beckons us. I say we listen to our desires, not the ranting of a dead man. By the nodding of the heads around me, I saw it would be hard to cheat Poseidon of his quarry. I made them all solemnly promise me they wouldn't harm any of the cattle on the island. They did this at once. We still had plenty of the food from the gifts of Circe, and so we beached the ship, we lit a fire, we tried to eat, but none of us had any appetite. We were thinking of the victims of the dragon Scylla, our friends with whom we had seen so much. Many of us fell asleep with tears coursing down our cheeks. I was woken during the third watch by Eurylochus shaking my shoulders. As soon as I opened my eyes, I could see why. There was a terrible storm. It was as though the sea and the sky were at war with one another. "You see," shouted Eurylochus, "if we'd listened to you, we'd have been out there now. By the morning, our bones would have been rolling across the ocean bed." The storm howled throughout the night. It continued throughout the next day. It raged for a month. First, we ran out of bread, then meat, then wine, then everything else that we had. We were living on what we could find, what we could catch, birds, eggs, fish, and it was not enough. I began to understand the nature of the trap in which we were caught. I could see the hunger gnawing on the patience and the bellies of my crew. They looked longingly at the cattle. One morning, I left them behind. I clambered over the dunes until I found a place where the ground was dry, and there I lit a fire. I made what offerings I could. I prayed to the mighty immortals that they would end the storm so that we could sail away from this dangerous place. In return for my act of devotion, some god or goddess kissed my eyelids, and I fell into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes, the sky was high and blue. I heard no moaning wind now, only birdsong. My clothes were dry. The storm had ended. I climbed over the dunes. There was the ship. Beside it, my men were squatting round a fire. On the fire, the carcasses of 2 of those cattle. Eurylochus saw me approaching. He pulled a lump of meat from one of the carcasses, held it up, and said, "Odysseus, the gods are not angry with us. We made offerings. We gave the best cut of the meat to the gods and goddesses. As soon as we had done so, the storm ended. They feel hunger too. All they expected was the respect they deserve. Eat." I looked at the meat, and I saw a sight they could not see. The 2 carcasses on the fire opened their lipless mouth and moaned. That meat was cursed. Even though I was starving, I would not let it pass my lips. My men ate their fill and sealed their fates. They wrapped their hides around the remains of the meat. They loaded it aboard the ship. We unfurled a sail and lifted the oars. As the island dipped beneath the horizon, I shivered and looked around me. Suddenly, the ship was in shadow. Blotting out the sun, there was the strangest cloud I had ever seen. It was as if blood was being dropped into clear water. It was swelling out and staining the sky. Then I heard Hyperion's cry for vengeance, and Zeus answered it with a thunderbolt that struck our ship where the mast reached the deck. The mast crashed down and cracked open the head of my helmsman. The whole ship bucked. A wall of water rose against us. I could see into it, the brown weed quivering at the heart of it, and then it broke with a white roar, and our ship was dashed to pieces. Fuming breakers tore at every plank. I sank beneath the surface. For a moment all was silent. I could see the sea god pressing against my eyelids, my nostrils, my lips, my ears. Then I broke the surface, and the world was filled with sound. The rumble of thunder, Poseidon's laughter, the crashing of waves, and the screams of my friends. I fought against the storm. Time and again I was sure the darkness would descend over my eyes. The surface of the ocean was white, hissing, boiling. The whirlpool! We were caught in the great grip of Charybdis. I kicked and fought, but she was too strong for me. A wave lifted me a little, and I looked up. I saw something blacker than the night sky. I reached out and I clutched it. It was one of the branches of the fig tree that hung over Charybdis. As I hung from the tree, I watched, shivering and moaning, as she dragged my men down, 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 until they were just black specks. She spat out their corpses, and they bobbed lifeless in the brine. With a cry, I let go of the branch. Taking advantage of the few moments between the suck and spout of the whirlpool, I hit the water near a piece of the ship, and I grabbed it. I fought, I kicked, and I prayed to the immortals on Mount Olympus that I would pass out of these straits before the drag of the whirlpool began. Surely some god or goddess was smiling on me. Somehow, I made my way out of those straits before the whirlpool began to suck me down again. For many days and nights I clung to the piece of wood, more dead than alive, and I was found on the shore of an island by a nymph. Her name was Calypso. She carried to her cave where she nursed me back to health. As she nursed me, she fell in love with me. She offered me a mortal life if I would only stay with her. But as I lay there, unable to move, I knew that all I wanted from the rest of my life was a simple human thing. I wanted to live, grow old, and die with the woman I loved, my wife, Penelope. And so I refused Calypso's offer. She kept me on that island for 7 years. Every day she tried to persuade me. For 7 years I walked the shore of the island, staring out across the restless waves, longing for my homeland. For 7 years I pondered all my moments of bravery and honor and arrogance and folly. 7 years to wonder that I had put my trust in the kindness of a witch and the vision of a blind man. I had become nobody. And if we just have a look here, there's a couple of images that were in the book now. Okay, so that looks like it might be Calypso, and there then we have what looks like Odysseus on some sort of raft. So let's have a look what happens next. I become nobody, and I heard the song nobody should hear. 7 years to wonder that I had refused the chance to live forever for the sake of a woman I hadn't seen for half of my life. Eventually, prompted by the goddess Athene, Calypso gave me the tools to build a raft. I lifted a mast, put a sail upon it, and once again I rode the broad bucking back of Poseidon. By chance he saw me and raised a terrible storm, and my raft was destroyed. For 3 days I swam through the lashing, crashing waves. Naked, I was found on the shores of this island, King Alcinous. Everything I took from Troy is gone. My treasure, my ship, my friends lie at the bottom of the sea. All I have left now is my name, and a longing as sharp as pain to see the land that gave me life. And that is the end of chapter 8. Okay, so a very nice little chapter there. Lots going on. Okay, Odysseus now all on his own. So it looks like Poseidon is getting the better of him. So we're going to end it there. Make sure you complete your work, upload it onto Google Classroom for me, and I'll see you later for our live lesson. Thank you very much, Year 5. Enjoy the rest of your day.